Yeah. Yeah. Come and never sleep on me. Eyes on my chain 숙여 너의 고개를 what you looking at fool 너의 눈 허리 멍청했고 find your comfort from another yeah I go low like undercover yeah wanna know my name 죽지 않은 일은 위에 부어버려 기름 guess you can even guess me cause I'm baby high low로 확실해 not like maybe Devil let me welcome to my palace 찾지 않아 Alice you just keep on wonder You just keep on wonder 찾지 않아 Alice 버려 너의 memory I just pop a bin Danny have been 나는 걸어 Boeing 747 날개 위
Oh my gosh.
I lit the candles way too early. I did not expect them to burn down this fast.
Wow.
So I thought, well, we better go ahead and do this before there's candle wax all over this. Yep. I got the relight candles and they keep relighting.
Relighting.
Yeah.
You see the candles like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do. Do I need to?
Yeah, like they're just getting like out of hand. Out of dude. If my smoke detector goes off, that will just be that'll be the icing on the cake, won't it?
I like that.
So forgive me for not being able to wait on Colton. That's on me.
It's all good.
Well, here's what's left of it.
Look, it looks good.
Thanks. I'm
I
a man of my
cannot
word.
believe you actually got a cake.
I'm a man of my word, unfortunately.
All right.
Okay. So the reason I have a cake is because I mentioned in whatever podcast that was, it's probably Casino Royale or something, that if John hit 200 subscribers, that I would get a cake in celebration. And since we're not in person, I can't share it with him. The next best thing is for me to smash it in my face. So that's what I'm going to do. I said I was going to do it. Then I'm a man of my word. So. Yeah, it's kind of what I figured. Not that, yeah, it's just, it's solid. It's just a solid mass.
Solid like a rock.
But does that work for you guys? I mean, I could make it.
I need mushy cake. You need to go microwave that for 20 minutes and then do. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Caleb. Don't do that. Oh God, Caleb!
Caleb, dude, why did you do it? Sorry. Why?
Like
you didn't have to do that.
Oh, I didn't have to do that. Oh well, great. Dude,
I was having a bad day. And you just made it.
Dude, no kidding. Like these pre-bought or pre-made cakes that you can buy from Kroger are like they're solid, dude.
Yeah, they're pretty good cakes.
They're really good.
I like them.
Yeah, I do too. I like them so much that I wear them. Well, ready when y'all are.
Well, so
no, I gotta.
Yeah, you're fine, Caleb. It's okay.
So Colton, what did you think about Never Say Never Again?
Well, I didn't hate it. There's parts I liked about it. I'm on the fence about Kim Basinger, however you say her name. Sean Connery, great as always. I think I liked his performance in this better than in Diamonds. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so that's one thing I want to say about Sean Connery's performance. Like, so it really does look like Sean Connery is like having a good time here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
every review that I hear, they talk about that. I don't think I'm on anything groundbreaking by saying that, but yeah, I think he's definitely having fun here. Not to say he's not having fun in Diamonds Are Forever, but just looking at some of the ones before that, such as like You Only Live Twice. I mean just imagine the way he looks in that movie compared to this movie. Definitely some difference there. So honestly, I think I probably like Never Say Never Again more than most people do. Like I know most people do not like this movie. I don't mind it. And I know people that if there is anybody who is listening to all of these Bondcasts we've done, y'all probably think I just like every one of them, which I do. Even the ridiculous, stupid ones such as, Casino Royale 67. And don't get me wrong, there's some borderline stupid parts in this movie too, but I actually I actually get quite a bit out of this movie. I was watching it the other night and like I actually really enjoyed it. Like, and as a kid, and I want to ask Caleb whenever he gets back on here. I want to ask him how he felt about this movie as a kid. Because as a kid, I hated this movie. As a kid, this was like my just number one bottom of the barrel pick. I never did care for this movie. But yeah, now I just see things a little bit differently, I guess. I mean, I guess age might do that, or maybe I just learned something about it that made me endeared to it. Yeah, I feel like I hold the flag for this movie quite a bit these days.
I If I may assume something, I think like our our age people have grown to appreciate 80s type media better. So
Yeah,
like it being an 80s movie probably helps you enjoy it more.
I actually totally agree with that. Because I really do feel like we have done that, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so.
We've kind of went backwards a little bit, you know. Um, but yeah, I get that.
I seem to like a lot of movies from the 80s time period. And then
Yeah,
this would definitely fit into that, like with the technology and
yeah, like
I thought it worked pretty good.
I feel like as a kid, I liked the Bond movies in the '60s and the '70s and the '90s a lot more than I did the '80s, and which is, I mean, completely different because now I'm gonna be honest with you, Colton. A lot of my favorite Bond movies are in that decade, in the '80s, and I'm not gonna say Never Again is one of my favorite Bond movies because it's not, but
Right.
um, some that are like For Your Eyes Only. I mean,
For
that's
Your Eyes Only.
1981. I mean, um,
I think that's one of my favorite ones. Not to spoil our rankings or whatever, but like Living Daylights, For Your Eyes Only. Like I
yeah,
love those. I think the vibes from those movies, like just some of the stuff James is wearing, and
yeah,
of course some of the stuff James is wearing in this movie too. Some of the technology they use, like it really just reminds me of a way like I mean, I wasn't alive in the '80s, but like a lot of the stuff people wore in the '90s was just '80s clothes
just
that they
yeah,
got at the dig store because
exactly.
like that's the way it worked back then.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, just going on more about the '80s, while Caleb cleans up, For Your Eyes Only, like you said, The Living Daylights, like those two right there, Colton, are either like they're in the top three for me.
Oh,
Like maybe even the top two. Those two might be my two favorites. I don't know. They're always up there at the top. Um,
those are definitely in my top 5 to 6.
yeah,
Like Living Daylight's definitely my number one, but For Your Eyes Only, like there's other ones in there that can like move it around, but like it's definitely one of my favorites just because of the emotional weight it carries. So
yeah, like
and the setting.
and I mean, License to Kill is also another one that I really have always enjoyed. And even,
I love that.
I mean, what now?
I love License to Kill.
I like License to Kill is where they just let Timothy Dalton just, hey man, give it all you got, and you know what I mean.
He does.
But also like, I mean, Octopussy, like that's a really good one too. You know, that's 1983, the same year that Never Say Never Again came out, which kind of actually really segues into what I was wanting to talk about next. So they had the whole Battle of the Bonds thing, you know, where you know they were supposed to go head to head, you know, and compete in the theaters. Actually, like they both were a few months apart,
Yeah.
but they both came out the same year, Octopussy and Never Say Never Again. Octopussy ended up making the most money altogether, so I guess you could say it won the Battle of the Bonds, but Never Say Never Again actually made more on its opening weekend than Octopussy did in its opening weekend.
That
So
makes sense. Because it's Sean Connery.
yeah, like I think a lot of people came for Sean Connery, but one interesting thing. So nowadays, I mean, I was just listening to a video earlier about this movie, and they were talking about how bad it was. I have read a lot of movie reviews from the 80s when this movie come out, and I kid you not, people I read some where they said it was the greatest Bond movie they'd seen. Like, I mean, like people were on there saying like it was great, like which I mean I do. I mean, I think it's in a sense good, but I mean I don't think it's going to win the greatest Bond movie of all time. Like, you know what I mean?
I look at that as like that might have came from people that didn't have the same rewatchability some of the stuff we had too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I think it probably comes from is people who had seen the Connery movies in the 60s and didn't want to see Roger Moore the whole 1970s, you know what I mean? And that like but
That makes sense too.
but also like I read some reviews where people had seen both that movie and Octopussy and were talking about how Never Say Never Again was, you know, it just really did beat Octopussy out, which I probably wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. Depending on what day, I might say Never Again is better than Octopussy.
I love Dr. Pussy. I'm never saying that.
I don't know. I don't know. I would probably still say Octopussy. Yeah, Octopussy the better one. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
Man, there's so much stuff I love about Octopussy that this movie just doesn't come up to the same level. I mean, this movie's good. Don't get me wrong.
But let me ask you this. Does Octopussy have whatever those weird jetpack things were? Remember that the one scene in Never Say Never Again where what were those things? Like
they were jetpacks, but
it was like this was Never Say Never Again's version of the jetpack from Thunderball.
That's what I was. Yeah. So how does the one in Thunderball that came out in 1960?
Not 1965, and it looked
way better. Way
like,
better.
It looked so much better.
Yeah.
It was strange. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. I'll say this: it was cool that Felix got a jetpack, and Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
It was cool that he got to fly around with Bond.
I also like this version of Felix. I thought it was
I do too.
Yeah, that's something I want to talk about. The Felix in this movie, like, I mean, I actually really liked Bernie Casey's version of Felix.
He's not bad at all.
Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, from the moment they see each other, you can get, you know, just the chemistry between him and Connery. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
they
can totally
do.
tell that they on the weekend drinking beers.
Yes,
They drinking beers together, boys.
You can totally tell that these dudes are drinking beer and playing golf on the weekends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a really good Sean Connery impression.
Thanks, man. I practice it all the time.
but
Oh,
so Caleb, while you were cleaning, I was talking about something. When you were a kid, Caleb, what was your views or experiences with this movie?
I don't think I watched this until like way later in my Bond years. Because for a while, like this was always treated as like Sort of like 1967 Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Like, this one doesn't count. And yeah, and as a kid, I didn't like it just because it was not an official Eon movie. Like that alone,
Yeah.
made me not like it, which is kind of unfair.
That's the way I view it now. Like, because I think I viewed it the same way you do. I don't know. Whenever I was a kid, I never liked this movie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even own it. Like, the only time I ever did get to watch it was whenever it was like it was on a Bond marathon because they would always play this movie on marathons.
I think I had it on VHS, and I don't remember why I would have even got it. And I think that was the only way I ever watched it. Was maybe a relative was like, "Oh, this is a Bond movie. Get him that for a birthday or whatever."
That's probably what happened.
Yeah, and I just remember being like, "What the hell? I'll give it a try." And I don't know. But now, now that I can look at it objectively,
Yes.
this is a solid movie. The biggest issue I have with it is the score. It is just so bad.
Okay. So, I mean, gosh, man, I have to say this. I actually kind of am a low-key fan of this score.
Come on. Well,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm not, dude. I can't find anything redeeming about this soundtrack at all. Even
Go ahead.
well, even the opening title song, like I was like, okay, hopefully that's not an indication of how this is going to be, and it is. Like that song is just so bad.
Dude, I would take that title song
Over Writings on the Wall. Yeah.
over Writings on the Wall. Any day over Die Another Day. Any day over No Time to Die.
Yeah.
Actually, I could go on. I'd rather have it than All Time High for Octopussy. I could actually bring up some other ones like the Moonraker song. I never cared that, even though I never cared much for that, even though Shirley Bassey was doing it.
Sounds like you like this song.
What?
It sounds like you like the song.
I actually kind of do like the Never Say Never Again song.
That's fair.
And if anybody says anything bad about it, go to. No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, to each his own.
John ain't bearing no leaves out here.
So, speaking of the title song, have you guys already talked about the opening sequence?
No, we have not. We have not talked any about the movie, really.
Okay.
Well,
you guys just continue as you were. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, let's talk about the opening scene. So, instead of the gun barrel sequence, we get like a 007 like spam sequence.
You can't call it the 007 logo because legally they couldn't use it.
Yeah.
It's just 007.
So I'm gonna have to be honest with you guys. Whenever I think of this opening scene, so I know y'all are both gamers. Have y'all ever played Call of Duty Black Ops?
I never played the story mode, so I couldn't.
Well, this right here is James Bond doing some Call of Duty Black Ops stuff. And don't get me wrong, he does that in other movies. Like, GoldenEye, we see him all in his stealth gear. But this scene, man, I just think of that game. Like, this like, it just kind of shows you, hey, Bond can do that casino tuxedo stuff, but at the same time, he could put that leather jacket or that whatever that jacket's made out of and get the machine gun and the switchblade and go and rescue somebody.
I don't know if I had that exact thought when I was watching this scene, but now that you pointed out, like, this sequence has such a Black Ops vibe.
Yes,
it really does. That's one of my favorite Call of Duty games, by the way.
Mine too.
Yeah, the campaign alone is
the campaign is everything a man could ask for from a Call of Duty game. Is all I'm going to say.
Right. But what I really wanted to say about this opening sequence is it really looks like Sean Connery is really throwing himself at the action.
Yes,
in this
yes.
movie, and he looks pretty good. Like he actually looks pretty. And I don't know how much of this was edited. You can remove a frame between when somebody throws a punch and when the actor reacts to it, you can remove a frame and make it look a lot quicker than it was. I'm not saying that's what they done. All I'm saying is I don't know how much of this was edited to make it look better, but just seeing Connery do some action sequences was kind of surprising to me. Because how old is he here?
So this movie came out in 1983. He was born in 1930, so he'd be 53 here. Sorry,
15 years old.
Yeah, I said the wrong stuff.
Okay, 1980s 53 is a lot different than 2024 53.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of smoking 53s out there these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because look at Tom Cruise. He is in.
Tom Cruise 61, I think, ain't
he? Yeah, and he's in peak physical form.
I don't want to say too much about Tom Cruise.
What I'm saying is the standards were a little different back then.
Tom Cruise should be drinking that adrenochrome.
Probably.
Going there on this
but Connery looks really good in the action scenes considering his age.
I'm going to say this. I've heard a lot of people say it, and I'm going to echo that. Man, I think Connery looks better in this movie in 1983 than he did in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. I think he looks way more fit, way more healthy.
Yeah.
I think he looks good in this movie too, John.
And I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I always just kind of because Connery's bald, right?
Yes.
What?
I always thought it would be something. What if they did this movie with him being bald?
He ain't no Jason Statham, man. He can't pull it off.
I think he could have done it.
I'm kidding.
Honestly, so yeah, I think that could have worked because
I think it would make it even more badass if they did it with him being bald. I think it would be cooler.
I do think now I think that would be really cool, especially considering it's made very clear that this is an older James Bond.
Yeah.
So I can see him being bald and with the iconic Sean Connery beard. But at the time, I
would be so into that, dude. That would be so awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at The Rock. That's how it was in The Rock. And
exactly.
That looks awesome. But I think the reason they didn't go for that is because they were trying really hard to compete with.
Yeah, with Eon. I mean, right. I totally understand.
That would separate it from.
Yes, that would really.
Yeah.
I think a lot of another thing would be if he was bald. He would look too much like Blofeld.
Maybe older versions.
Yeah.
Of Blofeld, in previous movies. Yeah, I can see that.
So just imagine if in Diamonds we'd had James. I know this is gonna sound revolutionary. It's never been done in a parody of a James Bond movie, but imagine if James Bond with hair was James Bond, and then Sean Connery with no hair was Blofeld. It's obviously never been done in a parody.
I don't think it has.
Never. I'm sorry. I'm ruining this podcast.
So one thing I do, I was listening to a documentary on Never Say Never Again the other day, and apparently the guy that was supposed to write the screenplay for it, his name was Lorenzo Simple. Apparently he was a really big time screenplay writer. I guess in the television series Batman, I think he did some writing for it, Colton. But anyway, other than that, he was also did the movies 3 Days of the Condor and the Parallax View. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them. But anyway, the reason I bring him up is I was listening to a documentary on this movie, and they were talking about how his original idea of this movie was to really play into the older James Bond element. And it was going to be, kind of more gritty, more serious, more, dealing with his age and, and I'm going to be honest with you, man. I could totally go for that too. You know what I mean?
I like all of that.
I dig all of that. But I guess Connery looked over the screenplay and he didn't like it, and so then things changed. But this movie is definitely one of the most interesting movies for me. I just like this book right here. Brought it out here because I want to show you. It's called The Battle for Bond. It's by Robert Sellers, and it's all about the drama, of Thunderball and Never Say Never Again, Kevin McClory, and all that good stuff. It's probably one of the best Bond books I have. But
I would really like to read that.
Next time I see you, I'll let you get it.
Oh, you don't have to do that, man.
Oh, I'll let you. It's all good.
But I didn't do any research on Kevin McClory as bad as I wanted to for this podcast, because if I did, this would just turn into the Kevin McClory podcast. I didn't want to do that.
That's kind of the way I was too, because literally, guys, I could sit here and talk like probably 5 hours about this stuff, But the way I was like, I'm gonna keep it casual. We don't have to do like a scientific look at this, even though that really appeals to me, and I would love to do that. But
that is a lot to unpack.
Yes, it is. But
and man, could you imagine sitting here for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Whoa. But so I want to talk about this. What about the MI6 crew in this movie, y'all? Like, man. Like,
I can't say much about the crew. I don't mind him. He's doing his best Bernard Lee impression. I feel like he's trying to be real grumpy.
He's just like a dick in this movie.
He's kind of a jerk.
Prick, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy that plays M in this movie, his name's Edward Fox. Now, I know he seems like, for lack of better terms, just like a jerk. Okay, keep it PG. Yeah, he's a total jerk in this movie. Not somebody you would like. There's another movie that came out before this movie, and it's called Day of the Jackal, and it's a very famous espionage book. And Edward Fox plays the Jackal, and the Jackal's an assassin. And dude, Edward Fox is awesome in that movie. Like, if y'all have not seen that movie, you need to watch it, because Edward Fox could have been Bond himself.
Yeah, like he has that look.
Like, I mean, he could totally play like the Roger Moore. Like, I mean, whenever I say Roger Moore, I'm not really talking about campy. Just the way Roger Moore comes off as posh,
kind of like a playboy.
Yes,
yeah.
I think Edward Fox could do that easy.
I can say that
he's got that look to him. But in this, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say something about M's character real quick. He really hammered home how much of a jerk he is when he's talking about how they're trying to figure out how that soldier got access to the to the warheads, and Bond is like, well, is it because they're talking about the retinal scan, and Bond goes, well, is it possible that he could have used a false eye? And M goes, what are you, retarded? Like, come on, Bond. Seriously? And I was thinking, like, okay, this is the same agency that's got fake pens.
Yes.
It's got all these gadgets, and for some reason a fake eye is just so out there. Like, I just don't feel like that was a very appropriate response to a pretty reasonable idea.
So this movie's version of Moneypenny is played by Pamela Salem, and she died just a few months ago, unfortunately.
Oh, hey.
Huh. She doesn't have too big of a part here, but I mean, she's here.
Well, I mean, Moneypenny doesn't always play the biggest role in Bond movies anyway, but like I feel like she filled those shoes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, me too. But I will tell you one thing, man. I love this movie's version of Q, man. This is Q like I want him. I want him to be taking part in the gratuitous sex and violence. I want him to be enjoying him making all these crazy things that are going to go out and kill and maim people. This is the Q we need. Algernon. They don't even call him Q.
Why was his name Algernon anyway?
Probably legal reasons, honestly.
Probably okay. Have y'all ever read the story Flowers for Algernon?
I have, yes.
Yes,
that has got to be where they got this from.
Yeah, 8th grade.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Dwayne Eliff.
Dwayne Eliff. That's my cousin.
Mr. Eliff. I hope he don't listen to this and hear me call him Dwayne Eliff. Mr. Eliff. Mr. Eliff,
it is Mr. Eliff. We're also in our 30s, Jonathan. We can call him Dwayne.
So, hey, listen,
You're
man.
a teacher yourself now, John. You're one of his peers.
Yeah, but I'm a country boy, and I got.
Yeah, you sort of earned a rite of passage. You're a teacher too, so you can call him. You can address him by his first name now.
I think not to jump off the subject of the podcast. So I think he got a promotion the other day. I don't think he's going to be a principal anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's going to go work for the school board.
That's good. That's good. Good for him. Seriously.
Yeah, good for him.
I just wanted to say that Flowers for Algernon was a great story.
It was. For real though, Mr. Eliff though, he helped me out quite a bit. Because whenever I did my student teaching, he was a great principal to be cooperating with. Well, you know what I mean?
Man, Dwayne did a lot for me just as a teacher, in 8th grade.
Yeah. So anyway, to get back to what we were, hey, shout out Mr. Eliff.
Shout out Mr. Eliff.
To get back to what we were talking about, so I really do like Q or Algernon in this movie. I think he's awesome. I love it how he takes Bond's watch and he's looking at it, he's just like, and you hear it bust. He just throws it on his new watch.
Yeah.
Man, Never Say Never Again has a laser watch before Eon does.
Okay. I thought about that. I feel like that's not the only thing in this movie that almost seems like the Eon series sort of, well, they stole.
I definitely think that there was some taking from Never Say Never Again. Okay, so what about Xenia Onatop?
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to say, dude.
Yeah, Fatima Blush is like
that's her.
That is Xenia Onatop.
Okay, not only is the character very similar, but she also does the synchronized key thing in the bank, right? You remember that? You remember when her and Orlov do the synchronized key thing at Gold?
Oh yeah,
dude, they stole that from this movie.
Yeah, I definitely think that Barbara Carrera as Fatima Blush was influence on her. By the way, guys, what do you think about Fatima Blush?
I think she's a really good henchwoman. I love
her.
Attractive. I thought she looked good.
Dude, top, 10 out of 10 on the fine scale, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, I was judging her by her character.
Well, I wasn't necessarily, I guess I was judging her. I wasn't trying.
Well, no, in these movies,
that is their character.
Yeah, well, male or female, that's just part of their.
But seriously, even though, yeah, she looks good, but man, whenever she's on the screen, she's owning it. You know what I mean? She's
very intimidating presence.
Yes, she's just awesome. And I think they wanted her to be an Octopussy, but she wanted to work with Sean Connery.
That's right. Yes,
and that's why she's on this movie. I admire
that. Isn't that interesting?
I think
it's kind of funny that the powerhouse Eon Productions was even that couldn't persuade her because she just had to work with Sean Connery. That's hilarious. I want to say one more thing about Algernon before we get too far away. I really love how he mentions like how crappy the budget is at MI6 and how he can't get his hands on the spare parts and the materials that he needs to make all these gadgets. It's the first time that any of these movies has ever made reference to the state of the economy, I guess, in relation to their work. And not only that, but this movie does a really good job of making MI6 look like an actual government facility.
Oddly enough, that is what I thought too. So, okay, think about M's office and Q's lab from the classic series, specifically the Connery series. Remember how M's office had leather padded doors, had paintings of naval scenes, very, very grandiose. And look at M's office here. It's just a regular room with a desk and dude. It's a very bureaucratic office, just regular.
Yes, and what really illustrated that for me is when Bond was on the computer. I forgot what he was doing, but he gets up and he's talking to Moneypenny, and you cut to a wide shot, and it shows this is in MI6, right?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It looks like the local library.
Mm-hmm. Well, me being a teacher, I go into a lot of old school buildings.
Right, yeah.
That reminds me of just an old school building that, you know what I mean?
And that's what it would look like.
Yes.
And for better or worse, it's just a more realistic take on MI6 that I really appreciate.
I did too. Especially, I know that you guys probably haven't heard of this, but I've watched a lot of the George Smiley movies, which is basically he's a character made by this guy named John le Carre. It's more a down to earth view of espionage than Bond is, and just the way MI6 looked in this movie reminded me so much of some of John le Carre's George Smiley novels, because it's all very grounded in realism. You know what I mean? It's not here where we got jetpacks and rocket powered motorcycles and
and pin guns. Nice to see OQ can still get one on you double O's.
Something else
I love his accent. I love his accent.
It's great.
So I want to talk about guns in this movie. So Bond is doing his target practice right there. The gun he's using is actually a Mauser. I can't remember the exact details, but it's a Mauser pistol. Now it's not the Mauser broom handle. It's not that one, but it's another type of Mauser that looks like a Walther PPK.
Yeah. Man, this is gonna make me sound ignorant, but I really thought it was a PPK. I was gonna ask you,
it looks like one. It does.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. So how did they get around that? But they don't own the rights to. Yeah. Walther owns the rights to the gun. So.
Also, later on in the movie, okay, remember the guy that Bond gives the cigar box and has him hold it, believing it was a bomb?
Yeah.
Bond takes his gun, which is a Japanese pistol, a Nambu Type 14, I believe is what the name of that thing is. And then Bond doesn't actually use a Walther PPK in this movie. He uses a Walther P5, which also in Octopussy, that's the same gun Roger Moore uses. They both used it in their movies.
Was that whenever it had just come out?
What?
Was that whenever the new Walther had just came out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was a advertising thing,
So, So it wasn't or maybe it was a coincidence in a way, but yeah, I wonder if one studio knew that the other studio was also advertising for Walther.
You know what I think?
What's that?
I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this. I think Walther knew that both movies were coming out. I think they were like, we are about
they capitalized on that.
When the minute they saw 2 James Bonds, they were like, oh boys.
Get on the phone.
Way back then. Yeah. Going hit.
You can just see Walther You can see Walter like, yeah, this one movie's even got Sean Connery coming back for it. We're about
Cha-ching!
to just money signs. Oh, we're really gonna make some money now.
Not to change the subject, but I really liked that James Bond rolled up in the old Bentley.
Man, I wanted to say something about that. I'm so glad
Glad you brought that up.
Man,
We skipped over that entire sequence.
so I love, kind of like in Casino Royale 1967, whenever David Niven drove the Bentley. Man, I love it when Sean Connery drives the Bentley right here. It's like, yes. Like, in the Eon series, we only get to see the Bentley one time, and that's in From Russia with Love at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and you really only see the interior.
Yeah, like, I mean, you don't see
phone.
much of the whole thing, you know what I mean? But man, I love that it's in Never Say Never Again. That is definitely a mark for this movie, is that.
Yeah, in the positive. My favorite part of the movie, honestly.
I'm gonna have to be honest with you, and of course, me and Caleb has already kind of discussed how we don't like Kevin McClory, but I will give him credit. This movie, while being a retread of Thunderball, it's also more than that. It's kind of like it's almost like a celebration just of James Bond. I mean,
yeah.
And I will talk. Okay, like actually, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm interested.
What about when he goes to the casino? What casino is he in?
Is he at
the name of the casino?
And
Never Say Never Again. Because it says it on a board whenever they're walking in.
Oh, they're at
It's a very famous casino in the Fleming novels.
Yeah, is it Size of Spades? Is that no? It's
No, they're not at Blades. They're not at
Blades. They're not at Blades. Okay.
Oh, all right. Let me ask you this: what famous casino from a Fleming novel is in the south of France?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
What's the name of the casino that Bond was at in his first novel?
It's not because we begin with I don't.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you.
Does it?
Is it Casino Royale?
It's Casino Royale.
Okay.
Like,
is it really?
Yes, and it's a blink if you miss it moment, but like when they're walking in, there's a sign that says Casino Royale. That's the casino they're at.
Well,
I knew like
I'm an imbecile.
So, yeah, I mean the clues that you gave us obviously suggested. I was like, no, there's no way.
It is
okay,
and like I think McClory put that in there for two reasons. I think he put it in there one because I really do think he liked the character of James Bond.
I do too. I mean, the character is handled with really good care.
And I also think that he was kind of like, hey, Eon, what about this other movie that you don't have the rights to? Like, we're going to put it in here too, just a
middle finger to Eon. And I want to point something else out about this scene that I didn't notice the first time, but somebody on YouTube pointed it out. But there's like a gun barrel during the during the domination game they're playing,
and that's something else I want to talk about. Is that okay? I'm not opposed to this, and actually, before I go on to this, I'm going to give a little backstory. The other day, whenever we were in Savannah, Colton, I was talking to Caleb at the breakfast table at Molly's, and
shout out Molly Mondays.
What?
Shout out Molly Mondays.
But I was talking to him about how there was two things about this movie that I think go on too long. One is the dance scene, and I will talk about that in a second. But dude, this domination scene, in my opinion, goes on.
Oh my God, dude!
All right, and I'm not opposed to Bond playing this game. I don't mind that he's playing it, and I know it's a different world. I mean, the 80s were probably a really cool time where it's like, wow, this technology, look, we can play this game, but I didn't get much out of it, but I can respect what they were trying to do, but they just took it a little bit too long.
The problem is, while even back then, those special effects were really cool. And honestly, like for somebody like me that kind of really appreciates like the technical stuff in movies, like even to me, it looked really cool. The problem is the technology just wasn't there for them to really execute what they wanted, I think.
Yeah.
So while they're trying to build suspense, there's nothing tangible for you to nothing selling that suspense.
Yeah.
Because there was only so much you could do with the effects that they had at the time, and they just really couldn't pull off what they wanted. But so for Colton's benefit, which I'm sure you could probably do the math, they did not have the rights to use the gun barrel. That's why we got that generic 007 opening. So I think, and some people think that Kevin McClory or the director, whoever, this was their way of sneaking in a gun barrel sequence during this domination.
Yes.
It's another blink if you blink you miss it type of thing, maybe.
Well, no, I noticed it in the video game sequence, though I was trying to not like
doze off.
Oh, it was terrible. I think this is the sequence where I really hate the villain too. Like this is a sequence I'm just like, this guy should not be allowed like within like a mile of an elementary school.
Oh, you're saying, okay, so you're saying you hate the villain because you're supposed to,
not because of I think like the character's fine. I don't think like I like the way he looks. I'm judging him on his looks.
Okay, so
dude is a freak.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'll agree with that.
I'm gonna say this. I actually like Klaus Maria Brandauer's interpretation of Largo. I think it's because I mean, dude, they could have got anybody to play Largo. I mean, Largo, the playboy, you know, like smokes cigars, has an eye patch. They could have got anybody to do that, but this guy, not to just completely contradict everything you believe, Colton, but like to me, this is like a really fresh portrayal of this character. I actually really do like his portrayal of Largo.
I'm not complaining about the character. I'm complaining about the actor, the way he looks.
Yeah,
I'm being really judgmental.
Okay,
that's fair.
Dude looks like a freak.
I was gonna say he does a really good job of playing it like a creep, but I believe this version of Largo more, if that makes sense.
I feel like we really get a lot more time with Largo and
we do
like really flesh him out. Whereas you know, and I will say this, and this is something that I've always felt. You know, okay, look at this, and I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to leave the subject of Never Say Never Again for a second. I want to talk about. Think about the early Bond movies. We get Dr. No. Well, that's got the villain Dr. No in it, and we get to you know, you got to remember. The character of Dr. No, we have to wait till like the last 20 minutes of the movie to even get him. But he makes like an impression, you know, like we understand what kind of a man he is. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, the next movie, we get Rosa Klebb, we get Ernest Blofeld very quickly.
Right out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. And we get Red Grant. So Red Grant and Rosa Klebb, two very strong personalities, you know, even though Red Grant doesn't talk much, he's still, you know, very, I don't know, you know him, you know what I mean? Goldfinger, larger than life, you know, but think about Thunderball, man, you know, and I have nothing against Adolfo Celli, the guy that played Largo and Thunderball. Like, man, I just feel like we didn't really get to know him. It was just like, he was just a rich dude that was part of Spectre. That was it. Like,
and okay, so I've defended Thunderball. I think technically speaking, it's a really good movie. But the problem that I have with Thunderball and about the villain in particular is that just so much of it is so forgettable.
Yeah.
So some of the dialogue is just, I don't know. It's almost like everybody in that movie, the whole cast was just saying their lines just because somebody wrote them for him to say. So by the time you get to the climactic fight scene on the boat, I'm like, okay, why are we mad at this guy again? But here, what I'm the reason I put it like that is because in this movie, like I don't like Largo, and I know why I don't like it.
Oh, well, in this movie,
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Well, like I actually like Largo in this movie a lot more than I did in Thunderball. Like I just think this guy plays him better.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
You know what? That's part of the reason, like, because I mean, you're not supposed to like the villain.
Oh, okay. I understand. I
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you're saying.
That's all right.
Yeah, like
I like that you guys gave two intellectually based decisions on why you don't like the character.
and
I'm just
fundamentally misunderstood both.
but no, like and like for anybody listening to this, I do like the movie Thunderball. It's just I think it's not as strong as other ones is all. I literally don't hate any of the Bond movies. And I know sometimes I might come off as I do, but I really love
No, you don't. No, you don't. I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, but I really love all of them. But I mean, even the freaking oddball ones like this one. But okay,
I do.
What?
I do like this movie.
Yeah.
I think I like it. I think I like it better than Thunderball, actually.
Man, I kind of thought the same thing the other day whenever I watched it. I was like, man, do I really like Never Say Never Again more than literally one of the 60s Bond movies, the Holy Grails? I mean,
yeah,
I might, dude. I don't know. Like this is gonna be one of those things where it's gonna depend on when I watch it, I think. Like it depends on
yeah.
Like what mood I'm in, I guess. But
I'm gonna be contrary, and I'm just gonna say that like I don't think I like Thunderball very much. And while I think this is an okay movie, I don't think I like this movie very much either.
Yeah.
Like I like it more than Diamonds Are Forever, but I didn't like that movie at all. So,
dude, you didn't like Diamonds Are Forever?
Oh no, he's been a very very outspoken.
I don't know how you don't know that, Jonathan.
Dude, he's been very outspokenly against.
Dude, it's Diamonds Are Forever.
No.
Wow.
It's like I was saying earlier, like from a technical standpoint, Thunderball is really impressive, but you also have to consider when it was made, when it was released and all that. But man, all in all, like Never Say Never Again is just more fun to watch for me. Thunderball is just it's just such a slog.
Something I do want to bring up. Okay, so y'all know the girl that Bond meets in the Bahamas, and he ends up sleeping with her in his room. In her room while his room blows up. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that girl, Valerie Leon, was actually in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Really?
Yes. She played the hotel receptionist whenever Bond and Anya Onisova. Yeah.
She's the one that I think we talked about her on that podcast. It was one of y'all. It was like, man, this lady's got the hots for Bond, right? Like it's her.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool that she was in
this.
this.
That is really cool. Yeah.
I want to talk about another character. This movie's version of Paula from Thunderball, which is Nicole. Man, do y'all even know who I'm talking about whenever I say Nicole?
Yeah, she was barely in the movie, I think.
Like, barely.
Yeah. I really liked Paula in Thunderball.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Paula in Thunderball was awesome. This girl, well, bless her heart, we barely got to see her. Like,
yeah.
I mean, she wasn't around to do anything other than die, bless her soul. But that leads us to the motorcycle chase, which, guys, I love that Bond is finally on a motorcycle. And this movie I believe, as long as we don't count the three-wheeler from Diamonds Are Forever, I think this is the first time.
Of course, we count the three-wheeler, dude.
I think it's the first time Bond's on a motorcycle, isn't it?
First time Bond wears overalls too.
Yeah,
we can't gloss over that. And he was rocking them overalls.
You damn right he was. You damn right he was.
Shout out to
the
wardrobe department.
Wardrobe choices for never seen it.
That takes place around something else I wanted to mention. Actually, no, it doesn't, because that scene leads into them going back to the hotel with Bond's room blowing up. Okay, well, this is a different part, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is when Bond and is it Domino? Are they on the submarine? And anyway, there's a scene where you see Sean Connery's tattoo.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that out.
Oh, you're thinking of Bond and Fatima Blush.
Yes.
Whenever they were in the.
You're right.
Whenever they were, was it a love scene? Is that what you're?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that is something else. I'm glad you brought that up. I am so glad they left the tattoo visible.
Yeah,
I agree.
They did not try to hide it in this movie.
Yeah, dude. I apologize. It's been like 3 weeks since I watched this movie, so I didn't know where to place that scene in the movie. But the tattoo stuck out.
I'm so glad they left the tattoo on. I think that's badass.
I'll tell you something else.
Most believable thing about Bond being ex-military to begin with.
Yeah, of course he'd have a tattoo, you know?
Yeah.
You know, in the Eon series, while the tattoo wasn't visible, since they've gone back and recolor graded a lot of the movies, you can see the makeup over the tattoo. And one more thing about the makeup I want to mention. I was going to talk about it earlier because I was talking about how good Sean looks in this movie. I like that they did not give him a complete like jet black hairpiece. I think that would have just looked kind of weird.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could call me a Sean Connery fanboy if you want to, but I really cannot say anything bad about his appearance in this movie. It just
can't. I mean, he a little thick.
Oh yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, hey, he was always a bigger dude. You know what I mean?
He was. Yeah. All right. So he's older here, so I forgive his physical appearance, but he a little thick. But he does look good. All in all, he does look really good in this movie.
I mean, every time I think about him in this movie, I just think about him in Diamonds Are Forever, and I'm like, man.
Well,
God, he looks.
Yeah, he does look a lot better in this one, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like he seems to actually want to be here.
Yeah.
Versus in Diamonds Are Forever, where he was just seemed like he was checked out. I'll tell you something else. Blofeld's cat seems like he really wants to be here versus other versions of Blofeld's cat.
So
that.
Like I'm really glad you brought Blofeld up. What do y'all think about Blofeld in this movie? Dude, this is like, if they had made other movies to go along with this, this would probably be like the best Blofeld we ever got.
I can definitely see it having potential, but here I was just kind of like,
like it's just it pisses me off that they got that guy Max von Sydow, he's famous, like could not have been cheap, like dude, you know what I mean? And
that's why MI6 looked like a government building. All the budget was spent on the cast. Half of it went to Sean Connery.
But man, it just kind of makes me wish, man, I wish Kevin McClory really did have like a trilogy of movies we could see Bond battling Blofeld. But I think
that would be cool.
Yes, there is a deleted scene for this movie where Blofeld's cat, who has poison on her claws Blofeld and kills him.
Well, that makes sense.
Like, dude, I am telling you, man, you really need to check out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug somebody else's book. Guys, there's a PDF and it's called Writing Bond, and it's like 1,300 pages on a PDF ebook document, and it talks about all the different like ways the movies could have been, the different like, movie drafts and screenplays and stuff like that. Y'all really need, like you two in this podcast and whoever's listening to this, if you ever feel really nerdy and like want to see some like crazy plots for movies, you need to download it. It's awesome. But
What
and
would
I'm
I
also-
search?
What?
Would I just search Writing Bond?
Oh, let me see. Let me see.
Oh, by the way, that gun was a Mauser HSC.
It looks very much like a PVK, doesn't it?
Well, I was kind of surprised at how deep I had to dig to find that.
Really?
So there's no photo. I mean, I can look it up now, but because I just typed in what pistol did Bond use in Never Say Never Again, and it mentioned the Walther P5, but I wanted to see what kind of Mauser that was, and yeah, it just says Mauser HSC. So yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
But there is several different like plots for this, for like, the different versions of Never Say Never Again that McClory thought about. One of them had like it was like robotic sharks or something like that fighting Bond, very Austin Powers like.
Yeah.
And it also had Bond and Blofeld fighting on the Statue of Liberty.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, like I mean, like I would pay to see that movie, dude. It sounded really
James
cool.
Bond show up.
What?
The two other James Bond show up.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that kind of movie. All right, I know what you're talking about.
So I will say that every time I've seen a movie where they fight in or on the Statue of Liberty, I've loved it.
X-Men.
X-Men, No Way Home, the potential this movie would have had they fought on top of Statue of Liberty.
It would probably be my favorite Bond movie.
Probably up there. Like, not a lot of other things could have made it better.
I probably would have forgot all about the score.
Oh yeah, like I did.
Yeah, dude, this gun looks a lot like a Walther. It's not as it's got the same sort of geometry, I guess, but not quite as. It's just not as classy looking.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely not as classy looking.
Like a poor man's Walther's is what it looks like. What is it? Oh, it's also a 7.65 millimeter.
What you get?
Interesting.
It'll get the job done.
But well, anyway, so what's your final thought? Go. You got something to say, Caleb?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Colton, you brought up the Bentley, which is where Bond arrives at the health spa. Were you wanting to say something about that? Because we kind of.
Oh, I just loved the Bentley. That's
Yeah.
like my favorite part of this movie, other than Rowan Atkinson being in it.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about him. Okay.
Like,
What'd you think of Rowan Atkinson?
I mean, I like Rowan Atkinson and everything I've seen him in. He's just a really, he makes me feel awkward. So I know that like he makes everyone else feel awkward. It's a pleasant surprise.
So he's trying to do some sort of like like over the top posh British character, and whatever he was doing with his mouth to get that effect wasn't really that consistent. That like I don't know, that just stood out to me. Not that it really, because we're not supposed to take this character seriously anyway.
Right. He's just like he's like a I don't know the right word.
Who's the character from Family Guy? The bottom something bottom lip or something like that. And it's like, oh yes, how do you do? He's doing something like that.
For the voice.
Yeah. And that's not like it changes from scene to scene. That's like it's not really an issue. It's just something I noticed. But apparently, this was Rowan Atkinson's first major role in a motion picture, and that's one thing. Whether you like this movie or not, it launched Rowan Atkinson's career, I guess.
Well, whenever I see Rowan Atkinson, I just remember Emil Montevarius from the Scooby-Doo movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Rowan Atkinson played like a prominent character in the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie named Emil
I
Montevarius.
forgot all about that.
I will never forget that name. It is etched in the back of my mind because it is such a strange name.
Do y'all want to review that movie next?
Not next, no. Eventually,
Okay.
yes.
All right. I love that movie.
I also love that movie. The only thing James Gunn has done that I give him credit for.
Dude, yes. He did direct that movie. That's wild.
He did that movie.
I remember, I think, yeah, okay, it was me and my wife. We were watching that like a long time ago. We saw it on, I caught Netflix, and we were like, oh my gosh, do you remember this movie from when you were a kid? She's like, yeah. I was like, we got to watch it. I turned it on, we start watching. I'm watching the opening credits, and it says it's directed by James Gunn. And I was like, no way.
He also wrote that movie too.
I was like, it can't be the same James Gunn. And I looked it up. I could not believe it. Before we start talking about Scooby-Doo and Star Wars and all that crap, I want to say something about the health spa scene before we just
I do too.
Go completely off the rails. Go ahead. I want to.
So you know the guy that Bond fought?
Yes and no. I looked him up, but I can't remember his name.
So his name's Pat Roach, and he was in Indiana Jones. He was the
yes, he was.
He was that guy.
That's really cool. So I do like the casting in this movie for the most part, but I feel like, okay, it's not the casting. I think it's just the way this character was done in wardrobe and makeup and all that stuff. Like, this guy just does not look like a Spectre henchman. He just looks like somebody off the street. And maybe that's more realistic, but he just didn't look like a Bond henchman to me.
Yeah, I know. It just looked like some dude that you'd like. I mean,
yeah. But I think that's one thing that Thunderball does better is the health spa.
Sequence. I agree. Yeah.
Other than the stretching back machine.
See, even that, like, as humiliating as it is for Bond, like, I mean, not that it works really well. It's just, it's sort of, I don't know. It's just part of that movie now. Well, something. Go ahead.
I do want to say that I had completely forgot about this movie being a retelling of the Thunderball story until M was like, the health spa. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, no.
Strublins.
So the conversation that leads up to that in the novel is really forward thinking. It's like, it's really ahead of its time because M is talking about how the food that Bond eats is, just his diet in general, along coupled with the copious amounts of cigarettes
and alcohol,
and the alcohol was a detriment to his health. And Bond was like, basically like, well, I'll just cut back or whatever. And it was like, it's also the bread, the red meat, and all that stuff. And while I don't agree with 100% of it, I do think that it's, I don't know, it struck me as like really ahead of its time.
Dude, I love that part of the novel.
I do too.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
It was just funny because M's like that, and then Bond goes to the health clinic, and he comes back, and he's like that.
Yeah.
Like the same way. And then, like, as soon as, the whole Spectre affair comes up in the novel, Bond and M both are back to drinking and smoking and, just...
Yep. I remember it mentions something about how how M's eyes had gone back to the like the yellowish bloodshot look. Yeah. I really like the part where Bond and this henchman are in a fight, and Bond throws his pee into his eyes. And
Well, not to change the subject about the pee. What about when he picks up the bench and starts fighting him like it's a couch?
dude, yes, yes, I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's my favorite part.
He's back at it.
Yeah, like
He's back at it, dude.
furniture is Connery's greatest weapon.
Hey, remember in You Only Live Twice when he had
Yeah,
God,
that's
I'm
he
so
took the couch
glad.
up with-
he
Dude,
picked up a
I
bench.
don't know.
Bond is back.
Dude, I don't know why I think him and You Only Live Twice with the couch is so funny, but dude,
It's hilarious.
every time I see that, it makes me laugh.
Jonathan, he does that in this movie with the bench.
Yeah.
It's so good.
You know he picked up the bench, and the director or the camera operator was like, "Sean, no," and then Sean just like cut him a look like that, and they were like, "They."
Oh Jesus Christ!
Sean's-
You go back to the urine now. I just did not want to forget at my one piece of tidbit for this podcast.
That's the only thing.
The Bentley and the bench. That's the only things I got to add. Oh, and Kim Basinger being sometimes hot, sometimes trailer trashy.
Why does Spectre have their own merchandise in this movie? The matches.
The matches. I don't even remember, dude.
Why would this super evil organization have their own matches? And also, if Spectre can facilitate this surgery for this guy, right? Because they literally like changed his retina to match the president of the United States, correct?
Yes.
So if Spectre can facilitate that kind of extensive surgery, they don't have a place for this guy to recover. He's got to go to this health spa. Maybe the recovery center was going to be where they decided to start making matches. You can't. I don't know. It's just that was really stupid to me.
Anyway,
I don't want to say anything.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm not talking negatively about
I'm not talking negatively either. I thought I would point that out. It's just a little odd. What did you guys think of the guy that played the Spectre plant? And the guy that accessed the warheads.
oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So that's Domino's brother.
Mhm.
What's his name?
Domino's brother.
We'll go with that.
What is his name?
Papa John's.
I bet he couldn't out Pizza the Hut.
Well, I cannot believe I cannot remember this.
Who can? Oh me. I got you, Jonathan. Hold on. Dang it.
I just find it weirdly convenient that this guy that they use would have a hot-ish sister, and he hooks up with her.
Gavin O'Harley. I'm sorry.
O'Harley.
Yeah, that's the actor's name. Jack Patachi.
Jack Patachi. Yeah, that's.
Continue with what you were saying, Colton. I'm sorry.
So her name's Domino Patachi.
Yeah, Domino Patachi.
Domino's Pizza.
Just enunciate that a couple times. Domino Patachi. Just really practice.
Patachi.
So, what's your final words on Never Say Never Again, gentlemen?
I'll watch it.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I'll watch it. Because I'm not going to say never say never again.
You know, that joke.
Caleb.
uh, I liked it. I think the other Bond movie that was in theaters at the same time is a lot better.
Yeah, Octopussy.
Yeah. Oh, Octopus.
Octopus.
I think I think that's a better Bond movie. But I think that's not to say that this movie hasn't earned its place in maybe not the official franchise, but you gotta watch this one too. Like it's just a part of the lore, I guess.
I mean, if you watch this many movies anyway,
You might as well.
Yeah, you need to finish watching all of them, except for 1967's Casino Royale, because that movie.
I thought that's what you were saying. Like if you've already watched that one, this one is not going to be any worse.
This movie is like Goldfinger compared to that movie.
The versions that y'all watched, did it have the shot of the horse? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god, I forgot about the horse. Probably most ridiculous scene in this movie. That horse.
I hate that horse had to die.
But it did die.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It didn't die. It did not die.
Swam away.
It did not die. I'm sorry, but it was probably traumatized, not from the jump or the impact of the water, but for being in this movie. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. That was a little rough though, having to a little rough.
I love you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say my last words on it. Never say never again. And for those, can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I'm gonna look right over here, and guys, I don't know if y'all can make it out, but right here, I've got my "Never Say Never Again" poster in my bar.
I like that.
Or poster, picture, whatever you want to call it.
Man, I love that bar so much.
Dude, I wish you would come up here and see it.
We need to.
Yeah. I like it.
What weekends are you free?
What
weekends are you free?
Well, I work every weekend, but I mean, if you want to come up here, I can take off and we can do something.
We have to do that. So I'll be on vacation next week. So next weekend, of course, we don't usually record these during the week anyway. So next weekend, through that week to the next weekend, I will be unavailable for visiting you and the podcast. So
we're going on hiatus, is what you're telling us, Caleb.
Yeah, actually, we'll be getting back the next Saturday. So Saturday after next. So we could record Sunday, probably.
All right. Well, just let me know.
Well, we got to decide what to watch.
Yeah, we do.
We should have that poll with our listeners.
All right.
Did you ever do a poll, John?
What?
Did you ever do a poll?
I haven't, but I think I could probably do it.
I think it should be done.
All right.
You guys have any suggestions for the poll?
I do.
Now, what's your suggestion, John?
My suggestion is Callan.
The Michael Caine movie, right?
No, this has got somebody else in it. That's what you're thinking of is the Ipcrest file.
That's right. Okay. Oh, never mind. No, you've talked about Callan before.
But yeah, there's a movie of Callan. That's what I suggest. And you guys can come up with what you would like, and you can email me or message me or what. I don't know why I said email. Message me and
yeah, I'll send you a letter.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm going to suggest Indiana Jones.
Oh, I would.
Well,
you guys already know Shrek.
Oh yeah, Shrek.
I'm dying on that hill.
I mean, I'm dying with you. I still think we should do it after we do Austin Powers.
Yeah, probably.
Good segue.
Yeah, it's Austin Powers works as a really good transition from sort of James Bond related to not at all.
Yes.
So,
Well,
Definitely.
I don't know, but we will figure it out. And I really do want to do the indie movies, Colton. So I mean,
I figure it'd be a good palate cleanser after the last two movies. Not saying this one was bad. This one was way better than the last one, but the
Yeah.
last
that's
one,
what I was gonna say.
the last
like-
one was bad.
Yeah.
well, all right,
Watching
boys, well, I guess-
watching Casino Royale and then watching this made this movie really
Yeah.
good, but just by comparison. But yeah, I like this movie. It's not great, but I like it. And those are my final words.
It reminds me of a time when Warner Brothers was good. Even though
Yes.
this movie isn't amazing, it's still a decent movie.
John?
Well, guys, well, all right. Well, we will figure out what the next movie we're going to do is, and then we will meet up again.
I'm gonna mop now.
This is the end of our Bond series.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is.
I'm glad that this just so happened to coincide with the 200 subscriber celebration.
Yeah, it did. It worked out.
Worked out.
It did work out.
Well,
I'm proud.
like I said, I'm gonna mop now because
Probably need to take a shower. You
probably need to take another shower. But first I'm gonna mop because if you don't, that's how you get ants.
Oh, that is how you get ants.
Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants.
That's what my mom would say.
That's yeah.
All right, boys. Well, it's been good, and I will see you next time in Indiana Jones or Callan or whatever Caleb says.
Or the Shrek cat.
Or Shrek. Adios.
We'll wait on that. Adios.
Later.